Greetings from the Idiot Box, where we explore the good, the bad, and the wacky in television. I'm Allison Lips. Today, my guest is Mark Malkoff, and we're very excited because his book, Love Johnny, is coming out in October, mid-October.
October 23rd, Love Johnny Carson is coming out. And I hear good things from my mother that she likes it. So there's an endorsement.
You also had a good comment, or an excellent comment from Dick Cavett that I saw
That was
online.
very nice of Dick. Martha, his wife, yeah, Martha mentioned that Dick loved the book and gave me a really nice blurb for the back cover. So I have a couple of those, which meant a lot from Dick Cavett. I
Yeah, that's
mean,
amazing.
that was really nice.
But it's good that your mom approves.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You might, if you talk to her and maybe get some truth serum going. I don't know how she really does. She's like, she read it. She said she really loved it, but I don't know. She's my mother. So some mothers, Johnny Carson always like had mom issues, and I know some of the other late night
Yeah,
shows,
Ruth Carson.
just very hard to get any approval. But my parents have been very kind with that in that respect. But that whole thing, going back, especially to that time period, is very common in the Midwest that the parents didn't want to give their kids what they called swelled heads. So they wouldn't, Ruth would compliment Johnny to her friends, when she was interviewed and to newspapers. She would watch every night. I mean, it's a misconception, I think, like heavily that it's been reported like that Johnny Carson's mom was just a really rough, and she was to him, but like she loved him. They just didn't express it in their family, but she was awfully proud. I mean, she would watch The Tonight Show every single night.
Isn't that a similar thing to what people were saying about Letterman's mom as well? Yet Letterman's mom shows up or would show up, do the Olympics
Yeah,
coverage,
it
or
definitely
make him
seems
fried bologna sandwiches.
it seems like a theme with like Letterman and Shanley and some of the others. I mean, yeah, like Dave said that his mom was like the least demonstrative person I think he ever met, and like he would do like I know he did like would do shows and stuff, and she just would not afterwards say anything like I liked that or I didn't, or just getting a compliment from her. And I maybe it's the same similar thing that Johnny, the whole Midwest thing, but yeah, I don't know if the compliments ever came.
Also, I would be remiss if I did not mention that you were the host of the Carson Podcast, and you currently host Inside Late Night for
That's
LateNighter.com.
right. Yes, it come this season. I'm on hiatus right now, as they say. Our brand new season starts. I don't know when this is going to be released, but it's September 23rd. Yeah, so we have some fun episodes. I just recorded one yesterday. So yeah,
Oh,
we've been doing it over a year and talked to people from Saturday Night Live and Letterman, comedians, writers, producers, revolving around late night.
and let's go to the Carson Podcast since
Okay.
that obviously has to do with your book.
Yeah.
And you did what was the time span that you did that for? Because it was like a decade, wasn't
Oh
it?
my goodness. I started my first interview, I think 2013. We released in 2014 the podcast we started, and it went 8 years.
It was eight
So,
years.
and then I've been working on this book for four. So, yeah, I guess I've started this whole journey back in 2013, and I sat down with Peter Jones, who did the American Masters PBS, directed the PBS American Masters, Johnny Carson, and I knew I wanted to do an interview podcast, and I kind of secretly wanted to do a Johnny Carson podcast, but I didn't have the confidence that people would be, that anybody would care. I really didn't, and that I could get guests. And I told Peter when I interviewed him my idea for this, and he's like, "You have to do this. I'll tell everyone I endorse you." And
Oh,
as I
wow.
say in the intro of my book, it was like, to me personally, I've been through so many of these projects where there's just so many walls were being blocked, and this one wasn't like that. It was like the seas parted. I mean, he was like, Do you want Carl Reiner's home phone number? Peter, I called him the next day. He's like, do you want Angie Dickinson's email? Do you want Bob Newhart's home number? And it's just like, and then I just started contacting people, and it was like Stephen Wright called me within like an hour. And I didn't know Stephen Wright, and he's like, I want to do this. And he's like, normally this takes months to set up if I even do these things. And I'm like, so I'm going to come to Massachusetts. He's like, Mark, you don't understand. I just happened to be in New York. I'm in Washington Square Park and I just got your message. He's like, but I can only do it in the next 3 hours. And I'm like, holy panic. So I had to find a studio and all that stuff. And within like 2 hours, I'm with Stephen Wright. And it was a lot of that stuff. I do think that it helped because back then, a lot of people that I talked to, not
Yeah.
Stephen Wright so much, but I'd have to explain what a podcast is. Now, everyone has a podcast. Famous people
Yes.
back then did not have podcasts, and now the former presidents have podcasts. So it's like I had
Yes.
to, now it's like jury duty for famous people to do podcasts. But back then it
Yes.
wasn't saturated. So I think that helped as well in my
I
favor.
I remember when podcasting first became a thing. Jimmy Pardo had his
Yeah,
podcast.
still does. He's
Mark,
great.
yeah, he does. Never Not Funny.
Yep.
Mark Maron. Those were the two mainly famous people in my world who
Yep.
were doing podcasts. And it's funny looking back on that because you're saying back then people didn't know what podcasts were. And I'm sure you remember the whole 10 years into podcasting and Variety decides that Conan invented the podcast.
Yeah, it's interesting with
And I'm like,
sometimes with revisionist history, especially with this book. How people cite things, and yeah, it's definitely. I didn't know Variety did that, but I'm not surprised that that's what they said. They recently, or one
they
of the other
fixed the headline
did they?
because even Conan
Okay.
was like, seriously? But I found that
Yeah,
funny because Jimmy Pardo was Conan's warm-up comic at the time he started his podcast.
that's
So
right.
it's like Conan definitely didn't even introduce the podcast to his circle of people.
I mean, the person I've been told, and I don't know if this is even true, the attribution of one of the first podcasts, if not the first, was Adam Curry who was MTV DJ back in the day. I don't know if that's true that he's the Podfather. I think self-proclaimed he calls himself that, I think. But yeah,
Yeah,
this
he was
whole
the
thing when I
MTV
was
DJ.
doing it was the Wild West, and like I remember pitching, doing a podcast to a big entity, and they're like, podcasts don't make money. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. They're not making money like now, but they're gonna be huge. And I was like, people just didn't. There were certain people that just did not get it, and they just did not think long term. And the people that got in, I think at the right time did well. Now I think
Yes.
if some of the top ones got in, I think it would be awfully tough. Yeah.
Now it's you have to be a Kelsey or someone of that
Amy
caliber.
Poehler.
Amy
Yeah, you
Poehler,
have to.
yeah.
It's definitely,
Smartless with
yeah, it's definitely hard. I mean, yeah, was able to get a lot of people at the time, and I don't know if I could get them. And also, like, I picked the right subject, right? Because it's like
yes.
everyone wanted to do, it, and I didn't realize this. It was like me asking somebody that loved their college experience so much, but they never get to talk about it in detail. And nobody is ever wants to hear about this, but they get a chance to relive it. And I picked the right thing. The people, they love this time period in their life for the most part, and they wanted to talk
Mm.
about going on the show, working at the show, and him. And I just didn't. I picked the right thing. I didn't know that because I had all these iconic people that wanted to talk to me, and their assistants would be like, they're excited to talk to you. I'm like, why would they be excited to talk to me? And they would explain,
Yes.
they would say, Mark, no one has ever asked. They've done thousands of interviews, and no one's ever asked me about Carson. They said it was like one of the biggest things in my career. So yeah, so who knew?
Yeah, I was listening today to this, so this isn't
Oh.
some insulting thing, to my first Carson podcast.
Hey, I'll take it.
And I was looking through some of the more
Hmm.
recent ones, which aren't that recent, but towards the end of
Yeah,
the run. There's a few Carson Writers Room episodes,
that's right.
but being the age I am, I settled in on the Mark Summers episode.
Oh, sure.
And I
Yeah.
had listened to some episodes of his podcast, which his podcast drives me crazy, and I can't
Oh,
stop
really?
listening.
Why? I just know that Jay Leno just did it. They're bringing it back, or he brought it back. But why does it drive you crazy?
The first season, he harped on like the harder you work, the more like the luckier you get. But
Okay,
he
I've
would
heard that
also then
before. I've
talk
heard that
about
many
how he
times
was
from other
working
people.
20-hour days.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like,
Okay.
that's not possible for everyone. And I know some hard working people who get trapped in the retail.
It's extremely hard, the entertainment business. I mean, I've heard that
Yes.
in business, people say that the harder you work, the luckier you get, but it is definitely it's definitely tough. There are certain people like Jay Leno that can sleep 3 hours, 4 hours. I know like one or
Yeah.
two people that can do that. I need my sleep
I do too.
to function. And yeah, not everyone's wired that way. I used to have
No.
another podcast and I used to it was about persistence, and I always used to say like some people are just wired that way, and but there's always, I feel like, people wherever you are, there's like baby steps for certain people can
Yes.
always take a little bit more, just thinking out of the box a little bit here and there. And I don't know, just like even the follow-ups, like there were guests on the Carson podcast that had like Angie Dickinson or Diane Cannon that took me
Hmm.
like 5 years to get. I would just, every so often just check in with them, like maybe once or twice a year, and tell them why I think it might be good for them to do it. This is who I just recently had. Here's the episode. But even like the
Hmm.
follow-ups, I think, and I appreciate people that follow up with me because, I'm very fortunate sometimes that people have asked me to do podcasts. I'm just so, my inbox is embarrassing, and I just get, maybe it's my ADHD. I'm just all over the place. So sometimes when people follow up with me, I'm like, oh, thank you for doing that. I'm embarrassed. I'm so sorry. I'd love to, I'll do your podcast. I try to say yes to everything just because I'm constantly asking people to do my podcast. So I'm just like, so
Paying it forward.
if people, I try. I mean, I know what it's like when, even if people are starting out or if only like a few people listen, I'm just like, I admire, this is my thing. Anybody that is putting something out there that's doing it, I have so much respect for. It is so easy for people to sit on the sidelines and just either criticize or just whatever. But if people are actually like getting on stage at open mics and doing stand up, or people are doing a podcast or anything, I just think that's the coolest thing. Or like, maybe they haven't been published yet, but at least they're sending out things and putting stuff
Yes.
out there. And I think that that's, yeah, that's why I really publicly try not to, like, I know people that will publicly criticize other movies and stuff, and once in a while maybe something will come out of my mouth, but I really try not to do that because I do admire anybody that just puts their stuff out there for judgment. And yeah, I think that that's very I think that's brave, because a lot of people will not do that. I mean, I got knocked down a lot when I started podcasting, because I didn't realize, especially with ADHD, that I was interrupting my guests so much. And I know that there's famous podcasters that do that, that they can get away with it. They're
Yes.
famous, and people will criticize them, and they're never going to change. But the people were very, very constructive with, they weren't rude. They were just saying, you need to stop doing this. And I wasn't even aware of it. And it definitely helped me. I feel like I just got so much a better perspective that once I was self-aware of it, that I could just once in a while I would interject and I would just put something if that had to, but I tried to like just bite my lip. They were done talking, and then I would go. But so like I think definitely think like the constructive criticism for me personally with my polite audience has helped.
Yes.
But sometimes, oh gosh, people can be mean. Not I've been fortunate, but so far, but yeah.
Oh, yes. We've all been on the internet in the year 2025, and
Oh my
it's not a pretty
goodness.
place.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
put out a book about Johnny Carson, I'm like, I don't know. Some people are like, stay, Mark, you want maybe stay offline for a while. Because, people have been really nice. Like I've gotten some reviews and people have sent me stuff, but like there's always, you can't please everyone and it's just what it is. But Um, yeah, I
No.
don't know. Bracing
And
myself for the, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I've never done a book before. I'm scared out of my mind. I'll just be honest with you. I've just putting this thing out there. It's like 130,000 some words. It's my life for the last couple of years, and just putting it out there. I mean, it's such a heavy subject. Johnny Carson and the Tonight Show, 30 years, the Grays that did it. There's been a lot of other Carson books, and just,
yes,
just trying to do it justice. So we'll see.
you mentioned the other Carson books. Your book is the third one to come out in just the last year.
Oh my goodness. Yes. When I started this, Bill Zemme, the great Bill Zemme, told me his book was never going to come out. And I believed that was the case. And he believed it was the case. And he passed away. And
Yes.
then his publisher decided to move forward. And they got a gentleman who I've never met, I've never spoken with, named Mike Thomas, to finish it up. And
Yes.
they put it out there. And then Howard Smith wrote a book, who was on my podcast. And he was Johnny's neighbor in Malibu. He put a book out. And then, yeah, there hadn't been a Johnny Carson book, especially from a major publisher, in forever. So, yeah, that
Yes.
was the Bill Zemme one was from a major publisher. Howard Smith is, I believe,
It is
self-published. I'm not sure,
self-published.
which is great. So many people self-publish and do extremely well with the self-publishing. And I know that he's gotten some rave reviews, and Howard had this very unique perspective and an amazing life. And I really did like interviewing him. But yeah, when I saw that there were other Carson books after I'd been working on this, I definitely was like, didn't see that coming. But yeah,
If it means anything from everything
yeah.
I'm hearing, granted, these are people we both know, your book
Mhm.
is the best by far out of
You
all.
know
You know
what?
what?
It's just different approaches. Howard had
Yes.
this approach where he was neighbors and friends with Carson. Bill Zemme had an approach where I think that he wanted to get to the bottom of who Carson was as an
Yes.
entertainer, maybe as a person, and just with like lots of amazing description and as some people would call it, maybe this amazing wordsmith. I mean, Bill Zemme's writing, I mean, is just I could not write like that. Where my approach was always, and why I started the podcast, pure curiosity on Johnny Carson and the Tonight Show. I wanted to know who held the curtain open for Johnny and what it was like for him to be backstage with Johnny. I wanted to know what it was like to go on the show, from the talent coordinators' perspectives to the people that were on the show. And I wanted to give the reader with this and with the podcast as much new information as possible, because that's the stuff
Yes.
I wanted to know. And when I uncovered some of these things by interviewing people, and then I'd say the book, maybe 30-40% the podcast, and the rest is all new stuff that I did as much as I could without new interviews and just as much research. I just wanted to give somebody who's reading this book, that was my goal, was to give them as much new stuff on Carson, the Tonight Show, retirement, pre Carson stuff that they hopefully don't know. And that was my approach, which is different, I think, than the other books. So yeah, I feel like everyone can
Yes.
coexist.
Definitely. And the Bill Zemme book, it is a very good book, but it's definitely a product of the situation where it's two excellent writers wrote the book at two different times, and that comes across. And I think the book suffers for that, not to say you won't learn anything from it, but it's the unfortunate circumstances of the initial writer was not able to finish it.
Yeah, I mean, they've made it. I mean, they were completely clear that,
Yeah.
Bill, unfortunately, through a bunch of different reasons, but I mean, he was sick with cancer, wasn't, and then he had some writer's block. Um, he was open with that, and that I don't know where the book was, but yeah, Mike Thomas took over, and they yeah, put it out, and yeah, I don't know how Bill would feel about it either way, but he told me it
Yeah.
wasn't going to come out. So it was definitely, when I heard it was going to come out, I was very, very surprised, and I was honestly worried that I would have to take out a lot of my book that I had already written, because I didn't know. So I thought I was have to take out a lot, but I didn't take out anything. It was just once I was able to just very quickly read the book. Somebody got me
Yeah.
an advance copy. That was a good day when just a day or two when I just went through it and I was like, I'm okay. Because I just thought I would have to take out so much and I didn't. So that was a
That's
relief.
a win.
It was. It was a relief. So yeah, just trying to. And then the whole 2 days before Johnny's 100th birthday thing was not my idea, but it just kind of happened. The publisher's smart, and I think that that's probably a really good time for the book to come out. I mean, it
That's
sucks. Johnny's smoking. I mean, he lived to 79 and had some really tough years with the emphysema, but his brother just died a couple years ago. I think he probably
what
would
a
have
dick.
lived to it into his 90s. I really do. It's just he shows up in my dreams sometimes, and I've talked to Carson staffers that have the same thing that they'll be back at the show. I just t been so consumed with the podcast and the book that like he'll be in my dreams, and then I'll wake up depressed that he's gone and stuff. But yeah, I mean the writers that I've talked to, some still have panic dreams where they have to write Karnaks because Johnny thought the Karnaks were like easy, like a day off for the staff, but some of the writers told me it was like the hardest thing to write to put
Yeah.
Karnak, so they still have the panic dreams. But like I have dreams from all the shows I worked on. I mean, I'll dream that I was back working at Letterman or back at Colbert. I wake up several times a night, so I freshly in my head just be like, oh gosh, so yeah.
You do know I'm not a licensed therapist.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, what does it mean? But I have I mean, I have dreams back on. I mean, I just remember everything from when I was 2 years old on. So a lot of
Yeah.
elementary school stuff. Bozo. I was on WGN Chicago Bozo when I was in fourth grade. I'm back on Bozo a lot in that studio in Chicago. I don't know, but yeah, lots of Tonight Show dreams on the set with Johnny.
Which you had never been on.
No, I was in the studio when I was in seventh grade. That would have been with the summer of I
Oh,
think '89. I took the tour in Burbank. Johnny was on vacation, wasn't he always? So
yes, it
yeah,
was.
but I got to see the rainbow curtain raised and the
Oh,
set and be in Studio One, which was a very cool thing for me. And the midway where see Johnny's like parking spot and all that. But I never. I mean, I wrote to everybody. Ed McMahon sent me back an authentic autograph. Doc sent me an authentic autograph. The Carson thing, I should have been smart enough to record the credits and written a letter to Helen Sanders, who was Johnny's assistant, and I would have gotten something real back. But I just wrote it to Carson and I got like it was like a pre-signed like facsimile autograph, just that if anybody sent him stuff, it would just go get something signed like that. But and it
the
never
auto
occurred to
pen.
me in a million years in his retirement that if I wrote him a letter that he would personally respond, which he did. He would go into his office, and if anyone wanted anything signed or had any questions, if they wrote, he would write them back. And I just never occurred to me that that would ever happen in a million years. But he was yeah, I mean, Helen
Wow.
told me she never signed his name ever. If anything came to her when she was at the Tonight Show or during that, yeah, he would come into the office and just yeah, get back to everyone.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm too young to have even watched Carson or to have
yeah,
known any of this firsthand
yeah.
because I was 1 when Carson went off the air.
Dear goodness, I was 16. I remember the day so well. I remember where I was watching the final show. I remember the significance of everything and realizing at the time what was happening and that this guy going off was there was just no going back from late night and what a monumental moment it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, it was definitely, oh gosh, it was just like every commercial break. I've heard Letterman say the same thing, like every commercial, you're just like, it was just slipping away.
I felt the same way with The Late Show and with Late Night with Conan O'Brien. With The Tonight Show,
Sure.
those 8 months were just too crazy to
No one
even
is
comprehend.
No one's going to succeed with 8 months on that. Leno had a really rough first year until
Yeah.
they moved to Studio 3 and they expanded the audience and he did that week in New York. Letterman certainly when he got the gig in February of '82 had already guest hosted the Tonight Show and had a morning show. So
Yes.
he knew how he like you have that experience, it helps, and he still
It
had
does.
trouble with the interviews for a while. Even when he started with late night, those shows take a while,
Yes.
especially at 11:30. The adjustments take a while because Jay had like had to go guest hosted for Carson 250 times and still was having trouble his first year. Colbert was getting beat up by the critics, by the audience his first year. Certainly he was in last place, and that first year it is extremely hard. They take at least a year to figure out, I think.
Yes. And Colbert just won an Emmy.
He did. He just won an Emmy. Yeah, that was I was at the old Comedy Central show for 3 years and 8 months, but who's counting? I was at Letterman for 11 months and 15 days, but yeah, it was a long time ago.
Why do you know exact days?
I think, I think that both of those things were just such a pivotal thing. When I got hired at Letterman, I couldn't believe it because I was on just the other side for the longest time. I went to the NBC show 5 times, drove up from Hershey, Pennsylvania. I was at Dave's first show at CBS in the second
Wow.
row, and it was like I was just like I think anybody that was into comedy, anybody that was into television, I mean, what Dave was doing, I'd say the NBC run in the first couple of years at CBS was just unbelievably good and funny. And
Yeah.
did the stage door when I first moved to New York to go to NYU when I was 18. And, George Carlin, I get to meet George Carlin. He could just like unbelievable, incredible to me that, someone like that would stop and I could have a conversation, like barely
Yeah.
have a conversation. I was such a fanboy. I think anybody good is like Apatow, anybody that's good,
Yeah.
you're fans of people and that I could have like a moment or two with them and stuff. So to go from being out there like in the audience, being on the stage door, and then like working on the show and being backstage was like it was
Yes.
just a big deal to get hired there. Um and then working over at the Colbert Report. Originally, we only were supposed to do 40 episodes. Comedy Central ordered with if it went well, we would get renewed for a year. But yeah, that was just such an amazing run to be over there and watch. I really think that show was
Yes.
genius. I really, really do. Um, yeah, so it was an honor to be there. By the time I got to Dave's show, he was still going to rehearsal. And he still was doing, I think on Thursday nights would do pre-tapes for the mailbag, but I mean it was so scaled back from what the time he was
Yes.
putting into the show, and I don't know. And then slowly by the time I left and everything like that, he just, I mean, it just kept getting more scaled back with him putting less and less time into the show, and it just became something else.
Weren't the Friday episodes filmed on Tuesdays or
Yeah. Or
something?
no, there were two Thursdays. We would do
Oh,
I was in the balcony a lot of times when we did the second Thursday. So we did like an earlier taping, I think on Thursday, maybe at 4, and then like something. So I'd go to a lot of times we would try to like because my shift would be over, I'd go to the balcony. And I was one of the rare people when the audience department, I was not a page. I was in the audience department floor. I had an office on the 8th floor, and we were allowed to be there, but like freaking staffers were not allowed to be in there. I mean, the only people were Dave's assistants and like maybe a couple like Bill Sheft, a couple writers that Dave approved. But I mean, there were people that worked at that show that had never been in the studio for rehearsal or to see the show until the final episode because Dave wouldn't have anybody there. Carson didn't care. I don't think Conan cared, but for especially at least for rehearsal or the show. But yeah, whatever. Dave had his process, and everybody's different.
that is crazy and a lot, and
It's just different. I think
it's the
Dave
quirks of
was just
people.
very aware of who was in the studio, and stuff would throw him off sometimes. There was that whole thing where if anybody had ever worked for Dave's show, you were not allowed to ever be in the audience because it would throw him off. He didn't want anybody that he went to school with or anybody he was friends with or anybody that he knew to be in the audience because it would throw him off.
Okay.
Yeah.
That actually makes sense when you phrase it that way.
There was somebody when I worked there that was in the Q&A. It was somebody who went to like elementary school with, and he was on like behind the scenes, not happy about it. He was,
Okay,
yeah.
that's because did he remember this person? Was this like his
I think that
childhood bully?
Dave has a good memory, but I think it was the person thing. Like I went to school with you, and I think he probably did. It just threw him off. It's just like I get it. If I was doing comedy or doing anything, I would prefer not to have anybody that I knew. I mean, some people would like the support. I am
Yeah.
much more comfortable with if I don't know the audience. I think maybe have one or two people, but like I get it to some extent. But yeah, that was a little extreme. But again, the guy
Yeah,
I think like an athlete, just very superstitious with certain things, how things had to
possible.
be. So, you know,
And you mentioned anyone who does comedy, which you've done comedy before.
oh my
You, back
goodness, I
in the
have.
day,
It's been
did
a while
crazy
back.
stunts.
I did, yeah, I did the comedy videos and those did well. I liked that. I could edit myself around and get comfortable on camera, which took a long time for me to do. And because the live stuff just like it was just I couldn't get comfortable. I mean, I am now, but like like if I did stand up or sketch, I think I'd be fine. But I used to hyperventilate and shake on stage. So
I don't know why. I just thought like a dog.
I would shake, my hands would shake on
I'm
stage
just
because I'd be
like, you
nervous.
know how
I'd
like a
be
dog in the heat.
yeah, I don't know. I'd hyperventilate. Like I'd try to hide it as much as
I'm
I
not
could and
trying to compare you to a dog. That
yeah,
just
it's
was
all
going through my
good.
head.
It's all good. I could like hopefully not make it too obvious, but yeah, I used to like have like panic stuff like with being on stage in front of people. Um but yeah, I mean it's I just like the video a lot because I can edit myself around and just like it was just so much easier just to like look in the camera and versus an audience and stuff. But I'm okay now. I performed many times in front of live audiences doing speeches and stuff and did a TED talk and I as long as I kind of I have like I know what I'm saying like I mean I'm okay. I had to do a talk and I didn't think I could do it for like 500 people and I was so petrified and I spent like I think 4 days just running the 5 minutes over and over and over again so
This
until
was
I
the
just
TED Talk.
this was called Ignite. It was a version of the TED Talk. The TED Talk, this was only a 5 minute thing. The TED Talk was longer. And
Okay.
then I did something at I did a keynote at VidCon, which was something similar to that. And I again days of running the thing. And I went it couldn't have gone better, but I it's only because I spent so much time. The people that can get up there and wing it and kind of know what they're gonna say and just
Yeah.
be loose, man, I wish that I could do that process, but I'm not one of those people that can just that get up there and talk off the top of my head and be comfortable and be a good performer like that. I just have to know what I'm gonna say and I can, yeah, every syllable. I,
Well,
yeah.
you didn't mention the topic. Do you want to mention the topics so for
Oh,
more
for the TED
context,
Talk? Oh,
or
well, I
any
can
of
do
your
that.
talks? Because I
Sure. The
you're
TED
just
Talk was
talking
about
about,
what human beings are capable of with perseverance, and I talked about using my stunt videos as examples. I did some
yeah, the
hard
train.
things. I I did
Was
a
it the train or the airline for a month? It was something for
I
a
lived on
month.
an airplane for a month to
Yeah.
get over my fear of flying. I said I'd get Guinness World Record, and it was a commercial airline to put my face on an airplane. I did not ask them to. I didn't know what would happen, but I did stay on an airplane for a month to get over my fear of flying, and we were flying 5, 7 times a day. So that was a lot. And then I did convinced IKEA to let me live and sleep in one of their stores. I did a video thing where I raced a New York City bus on 42nd Street while riding a child's big wheel, and I won by a minute to prove that a bus would beat a new that a big wheel, child's big wheel, would be faster than a New York City bus because I was frustrated with buses being so slow in Manhattan, and I
Yeah, it's
won. I
just
was by
quicker to walk.
2 minutes. It is a lot. I mean, I don't. I mean, yeah, it is a lot. It really depends, but for the most part, I mean, I won by 2 minutes. It was a 1 mile race on 42nd Street. So yeah, I've done a bunch of stuff. I wanted to prove to the world New Yorkers are nice, so I started at the southernmost end of Manhattan. I wanted to see how far up north I could transport myself only by having people carry me. So I'd ask people that carry me that I didn't know, and I got carried something I think 9.4 miles by 155 individuals.
Is
Nobody dropped me.
that's good.
Yeah, so
I'm
I talk about that.
surprised you got over 100 people to carry you.
You know, I feel like New York, if you live in New York, I don't know if it would fly in other places, but like I feel like New Yorkers are kind of up for anything and they're used to like strange
Yeah,
stuff like
it might
that.
be like, oh, you're doing some
And
bit.
I think that they're just nice and like they're willing to like, why not? Whereas I think if I did it somewhere else, I think it would just, people would just be like, it would be way too out of their comfort zone. But it worked for New York. That was my whole goal, was to show that New Yorkers are nice and that would carry somebody that they didn't know physically, um, in some cases several blocks. Who knew?
Blows my mind. I've been to New York, so I know how weird it can be, and your weirdness filter's just like, yeah, that's odd, whatever.
I think like the Bill Murray, like this whole Chicago yes and thing. If like there's a strange opportunity or something, and I try to yes and as much as I can. The positive stuff that's positive, stuff that like stuff that scares me that I know I think is going to be good for me. I try to yes and, like I just recorded my audiobook and I was scared out of my mind the first day. Oh my goodness, I was so uncomfortable and so I don't know. I was like just psyched myself out and I was a mess. But I thought,
How
you know
long
what,
did it?
I'm gonna yes and it. I'm gonna 5 days. It took 5 days.
5 days?
Yeah, it was
Five
with an
full
engineer
days?
and a director. Yeah, and like the gentleman who directed me, you know who he directed in audiobooks? Bono, Elvis Costello, all these famous people, and he's with me. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry that you have to do my audiobook. But he was so cool and nice and friendly and like doing the book and was wonderful. But it was like, I just I just did not have confidence going in on it. I know I got it and I'm good with it. I think probably the first part of the book's probably okay. It's adequate, but I know I get a lot better
Yeah.
in it. But it took a while, and it was such a relief when the thing was over because I just was like, I just didn't know if I could do it, and I psyched myself out. But yeah, but I did it, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I yes and I try to do those type of things that scare me.
Um, this is a lot of information right now that
Oh
I'm
my
just
goodness, is it too much
digesting.
information for your listeners? Yeah. So
They can pause.
yeah,
I'm trying to digest the information, and but
I'm gonna
you
let
were.
you take it. I'm so sorry if I've had feel like I've taken over your podcast, Allison. I will
I'm
give it back.
enjoying it. No, you can continue. You
I
have
got
more
nothing else.
podcasts.
I'm here. Please, let's go. Whatever you want to talk about.
But let's go back to when you were mentioning like people just being able to go and talk off the top of their head because
Yeah.
I was thinking about I taught a semester of TV history 60s and
Hmm.
70s. So while it's not performing in the traditional sense, when you have like 20 undergraduates staring at you asking random questions that you then have to explain like 5 minutes on why All in the Family matters and wasn't
Hmm.
incredibly offensive at the time.
Hmm.
It's a lot of thinking on your feet where
It does
it's
sound that. If it's something that I know about, I can
yeah,
do. Like I guess like a Q and A I could do about something I know about, but to lecture or like do a talk or a
yeah,
speech for 10 minutes on something where I have bullet points, I don't, it people's time is valuable. Like I
yes.
hope, like the people that are listening to the audiobook, people that listen to my podcast, I just want to give them the best possible product. And, it's yeah, I just want to do a good job. And I know that there are people that just can go up and wing stuff, but I know I would not be giving the audience the best thing. I know
No.
what I'm capable of and would be best for me and best for them. So I think I just know my process, but everybody's different.
Usually shows when someone just goes up there and wings something.
It scares me so
Yeah.
much to just go up there with bullet points and just I don't know. I just know I'm gonna forget things or like I'm just gonna gloss over things. And this way I have a structure and I'm like this is what I feel like is the most valuable to the audience and this is yeah, I want to keep it entertaining and keep it fresh and hopefully energetic.
Yes. And for those who listened to the Carson podcast, how is the book is definitely a compliment to it, but how is it different? Because there
Well, it's
are
nothing.
360 something episodes. You could listen to a Carson podcast
Yeah.
every
It
day of
would
the year.
I don't know what it would have been like if I just did the podcast for a book. That would have been tough, I think. I really wanted to do the entire Tonight Show from 62 to 92.
Mhm.
And I feel like that there were definitely some gaps, especially in the New York days. Because it was so long ago. Like, I mean, I don't know how many people. I talked to a lot of Carson staffers in Burbank and New York, but there were
Yes.
definitely certain gaps and stuff. So I feel like a lot of the stuff I wanted to do in more detail and like there were just
Got it.
definitely like things with Ed Ames, for example, like or certain famous like the tomahawk
The Tom,
chop.
yeah.
I got to sit down with Ed Ames, which was amazing to get his perspective, and then Charles Fox, who a famous
For that
composer,
moment though.
yeah, I was able to get his perspective. He was there, and I really just tried to flesh the things out with maybe people I've talked to, and then just do as much research and new interviews as possible to flesh
So
things
you
out.
just
Uh,
spent a bunch of time tracking down people who were there during the
I did,
tomahawk
but like I have
incident.
yeah I tried like tried with everything. Like I have in the book the very first show October 1st 62 and I've talked to people that were there like Mel Brooks and we talked about way of that. But there's so many other people that were there that aren't alive and are people that just don't really
Yeah.
remember much. So I just did as much research as I could from a variety of things to fill that in, which I did, on in terms of like what was going on behind the scenes and what everything that was leading up to it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of that stuff, for sure. Um, but yeah, it's definitely a lot of stuff that didn't get in that's not in the podcast. I guess I'd say like 30, maybe 40% podcast, 60% new stuff. So, and
Oh,
then there's lovely people like Jay Leno who would not talk to me for my podcast, but I was able to get him for 50 minutes on the phone and I was able to use that. So there's a bunch of people that just for whatever reason I wasn't able to get that talked to me for the book. So
okay. So
yeah,
they just didn't want, I guess,
I
didn't want to
Jay,
be, were okay
Jay
with being quoted, but didn't want it coming out of their mouth.
Jay told me when I sent him a letter and he called me and said he would do the podcast and then it just didn't happen and I was not hearing back from him and just tried I don't know and
There
then
was a period there where he kept getting into accidents. I don't know the timeline
oh
of
no, he
when you.
was fine at the time, and it's
Oh,
fine. He just didn't want to do it. Somebody that knew him was just told me he knows you know too much. He just did. I get it. He doesn't want to talk about his manager Helen Kushnick and stuff like that. Stuff that I would have to ask him about. So with the book, I emailed his assistant. And I said, "Listen,
yeah.
Jim McCulley, who was the Johnny gatekeeper for the comedians, he wrote an unpublished manuscript, and I'm using some of it. I've gotten permission." And there's a story involving Jay, and if he wants to give me his version,
Yes.
I'm here. And he called me within an hour, and we talked, and he answered all my. I'm grateful he answered my questions. I definitely politely, very very politely, uh, pushed back on some things that I knew I felt were not the entire truth. And we talked through things, and he was very generous with his time, and I'm grateful. And I think it helped the book a lot.
That is fantastic. I am
Yeah.
looking forward to reading
Oh my
the
goodness.
book.
I hope it's good. There's a lot of Dave stuff too. It's not only Johnny, so it's a lot of of Letterman stuff and just everybody that was instrumental. Like, I mean, to me, it's like unbelievable to think about like that Don Rickles was like so not controversial, but so out of the box that like TV shows wouldn't put him on. Like Johnny, he gave credit to Frank Sinatra and Johnny Carson for his career breaks because like no one would put him on. Like the clubs loved him, but then Johnny puts him on, and then the talent coordinator for the Tonight Show is like, okay, we're gonna put you on, but you can't make fun of Johnny, you can't make fun of Ed, or I guess it was probably Sketch,
You
and
can't do your act.
Don's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
It's like this is what I do. And it was like it's just so funny to think about back then that that was like what the show thought that like it was just unheard of for somebody to do that to the host. And it was deducted then by Cy Kassoff. It was the talent coordinator. Okay, you can make fun of Ed and you can make fun of, I think it was Sketch Henderson. And then the audience will see Johnny laughing.
Yeah.
Audience sees Johnny laughing, then it's okay. They realize it's okay to laugh. And Johnny did this whole exposition telling the audience for like 2 minutes. Okay, he makes fun of people, but it's good natured, and he had to do all this explaining on what was going to take place, which is
Yes.
so funny to think about where the whole culture was that he had to do that. And then
Right.
and then it was deducted after Ed and I think it was Sketch. They're made fun of. The audience sees Johnny laughing, and it's okay. Then Don can go after Johnny, and then they will see Johnny laughing, and it's okay. So it definitely took a while for the audience to really get the whole Rickles thing, and if somebody brave enough for Carson, because Carson had like seen him like in like I think 1960 at the Basin
Yeah.
Street East and loved his act, and Carson was headlining in Vegas in '64, and
So
Rickles was
Carson knew
playing
what he was
live.
getting into.
He did. It was just very I think just you needed somebody brave to be like, I'm gonna be the first one to do this, and this is gonna be very, very different. And it was definitely considered like this a risk, and they did it. And Carson waited, I think wisely, maybe until they did an LA trip. The LA visits, they had like I think 200 some in their studio in New York, 250 maybe. In LA,
Yeah.
you're in studio and with 460 people, and I mean just have that many more people, I think helps. What helps as a comedian and a performer, and I think that energy probably was a good move for
Wild
her.
to me that they had an
Mm,
issue with Rickles because while I know his content,
yeah.
by the end of his career, there was the documentary Mr. Warmth,
Yeah.
and people would talk about how it was an insult if he didn't insult you because it's Don Rickles. It's what he
Yeah.
does.
It's Mr. Warmth. It definitely was one of those things where he became an institution
Yes.
to to an audience, to a group of people that got it and beloved. And he always said, and I think that people that really did follow him knew it was coming from a place of love and there was no real hostility. But the people that got it, and then unfortunately the last bunches of years, some younger people didn't really get where he was maybe coming from, and there were definitely some people that took it a different. They didn't really, they just didn't get it, and I think that Don Rickles didn't. It was hard for him to accept. If he, I don't, maybe he didn't accept that was the case. That there was definitely at least some of the audience that was just I don't maybe things had changed a little bit maybe.
Don't know if we could have a Don Rickles nowadays. It doesn't seem like that type of humor would go over well.
Yeah, probably not. I mean, there's a bunch of YouTube videos. It's interesting with younger people, their reaction to Rickles on Carson or Dangerfield, Rodney Dangerfield, and just like their reactions. But yeah, I
I
don't.
find
Yeah,
a lot of them lack context, which creates issues.
yeah, context definitely is important, and sometimes it does get thrown out, depending on what it is. But yeah, it was interesting for me just to kind of go back, and I don't know if the Rickles of his story, like, was if that was really ever to a mass audience ever told how kind of revolutionary it was to put someone like him on television, and just the hurdles of even getting past like the talent coordinator of like how they would do this. Like that was even a thing I found just fascinating.
And he would, at least in my mind, give us some of the most iconic moments of The Tonight Show. Like
Rickles, yeah,
when
yeah,
yeah,
he'd
like
be
when
back.
Johnny threw him in the hot tub or the
Yes, and I
jacuzzi.
go into that. Now, you have certain moments on the Tonight Show that were spontaneous, and then you have others like that that I unearth. I will not tell you yes, yay or nay, but that is a one where I will tell people if that was planned or not planned. Because some of them were planned ahead of time, that they it was like kind of like professional wrestling that this would happen. Um, but yeah, that was
So that's a read the book in order to find out.
I don't want to give the magic tricks out, but yeah, some of them like did this really was this spontaneous or wasn't it spontaneous? So but yeah, he would be in terms of the insults, he'd be backstage with just making fun, warming up, making fun of making fun of the crew, making fun of the staff. And from my knowledge, from what he said and what his daughter Mindy
Yeah.
said, he didn't really have anything prepared. I mean, that's amazing to go. I mean, he would go through a pre-interview, but Johnny would like I don't think ever use it. I mean, yeah, you would have like the notes there and stuff. Same with Steve Lawrence. I don't know if they
So
ever
it's the
used them.
extreme opposite of Bob Hope's appearances.
Yeah, someone, again, everybody's different with their process, and Hope, every little thing he had to be, asked the specific question for the setup, and there wasn't much departure, and it worked for him. Yeah.
But you can always tell when someone's just going through their bits, as opposed to at least an attempt at a conversation.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I definitely think for the most part. I mean, for someone like there was, I think, some people that really did think Robin Williams was stream of consciousness, with a lot of stuff that Carson. But from what I've been told, every little thing was worked out, and but people thought he was just making a lot of stuff up as he went. But I heard from people that some people that was just not the case. I think he was one of the rare ones, but I think you're right overall.
Wow. Now you got me curious about the whole Rickles thing. Is
Oh my
is
goodness.
that in the book, or is that,
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
I
to
have it.
it
I
is,
have
okay.
if the hot tub him being thrown was real. I have the whole CPO Sharky with the cigarette
Cigarette box.
box, if that was real or not. Yeah, no, I have a bunch with behind the scenes. That's the stuff I wanted to know. I compare it to
Yeah.
like magic. I mean, like you can go on YouTube now and pretty much see how all the magic tricks are done, but like I just wanted to know and some people don't want to know, but like I definitely there was so much with the Tonight Show that I
Yeah.
just wanted to know what went on. And yeah, I feel like my questions were answered overwhelmingly doing the book, writing the book for all those years in the podcast.
I can't imagine not wanting to know, but I guess for some people, it's like seeing how the sausage is made, and you're like, "I don't wanna know what goes into that."
I mean, I think like making movies personally, like I always liked the television. Like you come up, you have a morning meeting, and you
Yeah.
do something in real time, close to real time, and then it airs that night. Whereas I don't know if you've been on a movie set, but I find that stuff
Mhm.
so boring. I mean, you're shooting out of sequence. You're sometimes shooting. I mean, I've been on some of those sets, and I don't know. It's a completely different process. Um, but yeah, I don't even know what I'm talking about. But yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add where we can get your book when it comes out
Oh
or
my
anything like
goodness.
that? We can listen to the Carson Podcast, I believe, anywhere your podcasts
Pretty much
com
carsonpodcast.com, Apple
yes.
Podcasts, any place. And then the book we have um Amazon, Books a Million, barnesandnoble.com, Target, Walmart. Signed copies, believe it or not, some people have asked for autographed copies, and Astoria Bookstore is going to be is selling and it's available for pre-order right now. It comes out
Yes.
October the 21st, 2 days before Carson's 100th. So those are a bunch of different places to get the book. I think that there's probably more. But yeah, it's being published by Dutton Books, imprint of Penguin Random House. And I should also give lots of credit because the book never would have happened without David Ritz, who is it says by Mark Malkoff with David Ritz. And David's done 65 books or even maybe more by now. He wrote books with Paul Schaefer, one on one with Don Rickles, Ray Charles. So yeah, he amazing.
I'm pretty sure
Um,
the first two of those books you mentioned are on my bookshelf behind me.
oh wow, that's
Paul
amazing. Yeah,
Schaefer and
David
Rickles.
David wrote a book on Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, but yeah, he worked one on one with a lot of people. Willie Nelson, just incredible. I mean, it was one of those things. I reached out to 6 well-known authors that I respected, and I said, I have all this information that I feel is very valuable and that would make a book, but I am too overwhelmed and don't have any confidence in myself writing a book, going through the
Yeah.
process. Would you want to? I went to 6 people I did not know and asked if any of them would be remotely interested in the possibility of discussing further.
And
And
he
we
said
hit it off.
yes.
Yeah, and another one was interested, but they were like, I work solo, and I'm like, I'm not doing that then. And then the other, well, yeah, I got one rejection, and then the other two, I don't even know if I got to them. I guess their email addresses. I think I got it to them, the two, but yeah, it was just 6 people. I just was like, it was my last hurrah. It was just like, um, I felt like I had so many closed doors with trying to do something with the podcast and all these famous people that were listening, and it was just like waiting for something like just to come out of it or maybe get funding or maybe move to a bigger platform, and nothing was happening. It was just like my last possibility thing is I'm going to email 6 people, and if something happens, that's great. If not, this is the last thing I'm ever going to do with this. So
And
yeah,
you got a book.
I did. Um, yeah, it was just unbelievable timing, and David Ritz was amazing, and it never would have happened in a gazillion years without him. Um, the getting us a book deal and just the whole thing with him. It was unbelievable. I felt so blessed getting to know him. He's such a good guy, and just talking to someone that gets overwhelmed easily.
Yes.
Um, just to kind of talk me through the process and lead me through it, and just being such a good editor and just an amazing wordsmith. And yeah, I'm so grateful to David Ritz.
Yeah, I'm going through that right now between working on my thesis, which is only 10,000 words, nothing near your
That's a lot.
100,000 plus,
Yeah,
but doing that
it's a
on top
lot.
of writing a script for a different class.
That's a lot. I mean, yeah. Contractually, I think I had to do 80,000 words, and they let me do more, which was really nice. So it's like 130. I think it's like 400 pages and then like 50 pages of maybe citations, something like that. I don't know, something like that.
Mike Chisholm did say there were a lot of citations and
I
things
I,
if you wanted to check out other
I
things.
was told there's no rules with citations, and some people choose not to do them. But you know, I just felt like there was so much stuff out there that are like, wow, this really is true, and that people could go back and listen to the Carson podcast or go back to whatever newspaper from 1959 or whatever
Yeah.
and check that this was published, or yeah, this phone
So you could have
conversation.
so you
Yeah.
could have just made things up, not cited anything, and you'd still have a book.
I think anybody can write, and some people do claims and things. I just, yeah, I guess some people can if they self-publish, maybe. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know what the rules are. I just knew that from this thing, I just wanted to give people attribution because I was definitely using certain sources from people's books and from magazines, newspapers, and conversations, and I knew that was what something I wanted to do, and it was a pain. It was a
Mhm.
huge, colossal. It was a lot of work, but I'm glad I did it, and I just wanted to give people just be completely clear with and all the episodes that I used of the Tonight Show, like there like, people are gonna be like, did Johnny really did this happen? Did Johnny? And I'm like, talked about it on the Tonight Show on this date. So yeah, I mean, that's what he says, and I believe it. So
So
yeah.
you had to go dig in the archive looking for episodes.
I did. I know more about Johnny Carson than my wife, Christine, who I've been married to for 20 years. I know more about Johnny Carson than I do my parents. It's just what it is. I don't, you know, there's just certain things that I just have in my brain that I can't. I know a lot about Saturday Night Live. I wish I knew more. I could like, be like trade out things for like know stuff, the periodic table or I don't know, maybe other information, but yeah, I know a lot about Carson, and it's up here, and it's just I didn't expect it, but yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Allison. You do a great job. You're a fantastic host.
I appreciate it. That means a lot coming from you.
Oh
And
my goodness.
thank you again. This is Allison
Yeah.
Lips. Mark Malkoff has been today's guest on Greetings from the Idiot Box. And until next time, remember television is a medium neither rare nor well done. Bye.